All right. Is my mic on? Oh. I will call our meeting of Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority for July to order. We have one item as a presentation by Embark Safety by Chief Safety Officer Eugene Fritz. You didn't ask me if you could do this as an item from the chairman, but you didn't ask me this, but Jason just put it on there that you're going to do this. See, so, okay.
So just to follow up with Dina Ross, so he's our third-party examiner for Embark. So he didn't have his manual transmission restrictions, so he took the test to get that on his license. So he can now do Class A licenses, whether they're manual or automatic, which means he could do other vehicles within the city. So he did 7 for us this week. All right, so lessons learned. So the BRT test platform. So in talking to other transit agencies that have BRTs, one of the things they said they wish they have done is practice more with the platforms. So it's a little bit different. The platform is different than a bus stop. It's raised about 13, 14 inches off the ground. Different with that than the streetcar, right? The streetcar has rails, so it always pulls up to the same spot. Bus is not going to be able to do that. So what we came up with in our brainstorming is we built a test platform. So this is it in the building stages. This is Dennis Fry is our maintenance manager. He's also our MacGyver in our department. So he, the engineer behind this. So this is what it looks like. It's about 30, 32 feet long, 13 to 14 inches high. So it's made out of wood. It's on wheels, so if it gets hit, it will kind of roll. So we're just gonna use it to practice with it. On a side note, this white rectangle here next to it is our mirror adjustment station. So the buses, before they pull out, so below us is Southwest 20th Street where our exit is, so they would pull up into this rectangle square here, line up their driver with this spot over here, and use the markings to adjust their mirrors. So this is what the rendition of the BRT platform looks like. So this is what they'll be pulling up to. So a little different than a bus stop. It's like the streetcar, but again, there's no rails. And here we have a video of, this is Byron, our trainer, practicing. So he does have his work cut out for himself here. So one of the things we came up with, you see we added the cones, right? So the cones are kind of like signifying where the curb would be. Prior to that, it was just like a rectangle out in the parking lot that you kind of pull up with, but in real life, you can have a curb kind of like to lead you up. So we added the cones to kind of indicate where the curb would be. I don't think it's planned. I don't believe it's planned. Oh, it is?
There'll be a Teflon drug rail that will allow the bus operator to perfectly align with the bus.
That's presentation. Any questions? I can't hear you.
Handrails anywhere?
Handrails?
Handrails when they get off?
On the back side of it, there'll be the back rails.
Okay.
You might go back to that rendering. We can show the rendering of the platform.
Can you go back?
And like Eugene said, there are rails not coming off the bus though, or if you're alighting.
Yep.
But as you go up and down the ramps.
Any other questions? All righty, thank you.
All right. Do we have any citizens to be heard? I did not have a notice of that. Next item, I would entertain a motion unless there's any changes by any of the trustees to approve our minutes of our June 3rd meeting. Okay, we had a motion and approval. Our consent docket, any items on there any of the trustees would like individual discussion about? They're pretty self-forward. If not, then I'd have a motion to approve our consent docket.
I'll second.
All right, we've had a motion, a first and a second. Voicemail, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Good, thank you. All right, items for individual consideration. Our first item is approval of the professional service agreement with PCI for the maintenance of our parking garage, and we had quite a committee meeting when we met with three of the bids and pretty well understand everything, but we'll let you go ahead and explain.
Thank you. I'll give you the highlights of the parking agreement. It's a 5-year contract that would start, or agreement that would start in August 3rd and run to August 2nd, 2027. Estimated cost for the management fees and incentive fees is $220,000 a year. Important things to know about this contract. The company's a boutique company. We've had experiences with this organization and some of their senior leadership, the president and vice president of their municipal divisions for a number of years. A part of the budget, the operating budget, includes some really cool software, if you ask me. One of the software packages is called Verge. Well, they'll extract data from our revenue control systems and then inject that data with a bunch of expense data and payroll invoices and whatnot. So it'll be automating those functionalities, taking out human error, and then possibly reassigning some of our clerical staff to other responsibilities in that budget. And obviously eliminating some human error. That's going to take several months to get off the ground. We do not know. We know what the subscription rate is, about $75,000 a year for those services. What we do not know is the implementation part from our garage system, SCADATA, to that system. We are working on that, and again, that would be included in the operating budget. Or, I'm sorry, if that came up, we'll rediscuss it if necessary. And then another really cool app that focuses on our maintenance, cleaning of the facilities, monthly, daily, weekly tasks, annual tasks, where management will be able to take a picture of an app of a problem within the garage, prioritize it, and it becomes a work order system that tracks for when it's done and how quickly it was done. A very useful management tool. And then also a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week call center. Again, reducing some of the local staff when somebody pushes the intercom button. We got people that just focus on that and can assist those customers and get them out. Again, it's a 5-year contract with 2 3-year renewal periods with escalation fees on the management side of the fees. As we were running around getting performance bonds, which we were delivered this morning, and insurance documents, we do have a full package for the chairman and director to sign. However, we presented a resolution because we needed to have those documents secured for permission for the chairman to execute the agreement. Can I ask questions?
I'll say our committee meeting, when we chose them, excuse me, I think they were number one on almost everybody's ballot.
Yeah, there was some other comments. We had some, when we did interviews, we had one of the largest national companies in the room, and then 2 boutique operations. With all the consolidation that's been going on over the last couple of years, it really seems like talent has left the boutiques, the smaller organizations, and have been gobbled up by the corporate empires. And I think the parking management services industry is, owners such as us and whatnot are going to start going to the boutiques to get that daily interaction and the service that we desire versus being a number.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just wanted to be real clear on what the action is that we're asking the board to take today. It's basically approving a resolution that will allow me and you to sign the contract, and then we will bring the contract, the actual contract back next month for the board to ratify. And again, that was just a matter of, we didn't want to put something on the agenda contract where we didn't have all the pieces, mainly the bonds, and we just received them. So then this all has to do with making sure we have the contractor in place for the implementation of the transition so that there's no interruption in service. And if you don't mind, Corey, I guess you're going to get to it in your parking report, but I know we're going to visit the implementation schedule just briefly this morning. And then the other thing I was thinking is, for those that may not be completely familiar with what our contracted parking operator does, besides all the tech that we described, like, what are the basics? Like, they're going to be cleaning the garages, they're going to be...
Yeah, they clean the garages. When a customer breaks a gate arm off and leaves in the middle of the night, they reinstall it. They do all of the accounting and financials, which again are all audited thoroughly by myself and our accounting department. They carry liability insurance, take care of the easier repairs to the equipments, the parking equipment and other facility equipment. They manage our elevator contract for us, routine trash emptying, customer assistance, directing of traffic, deposits of revenue, the day-to-day functions.
Well, they made a good presentation.
I would agree.
Any other questions by any of the trustees? Then I'd have a motion to approve item A. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Corey. Item B, and I'm not going to try to read the whole thing, but it's a memorandum of understanding between COTPA and the Water Utility Trust for our kind of park and ride at the entrance into Lake Hefner. And I don't know if you want to make mention of.
Sure. So, right, this relates to the park and ride that we're constructing out at Northwest Expressway and Meridian. And the reason we have this item on for the trust, it's really, basically, I guess I would categorize it as like a housekeeping issue where we just wanted to have an MOU in place between the two entities, COTPA and utilities, that states we, as the two trusts, are going to work together to develop a lease or a purchase or maybe a combination of the both in order for us, COTPA, to be able to construct and invest federal dollars on basically property that is currently owned by the city yet leased to Aquit. So it's kind of one of those complicated matters. There's a lot of owners involved, and we just need to make sure we document what that arrangement is and what authorization we actually end up with to be able to basically build on Aquit's property. So the trust will be receiving potentially a purchase agreement or a lease agreement with Aquit, and once that is executed, we can begin some construction for that park and ride facility and the platform.
I know that little parking lot there is used by a lot of the people that use the trails and all that. Is it going to still be open to them, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. We want to keep that parking lot for its current purpose, but then basically upgrade it through a mill and overlay, a little bit of landscaping, restriping, make it available for people that are currently using it now, as well as our future BRT park and ride customers. And if we have to expand the parking lot, we're prepared for that, and it would be a good problem to have. So we'll keep you posted.
All right, thank you. Any other questions by any of the trustees? Then I'd have a motion to approve item B. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion approved. Item C is an agreement with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation approving the receipt of a surface transportation block grant for the purchase and expansion of our transit signal priority.
Yes, sir. If it's okay with the trust, I might talk about item C and D together because they're both agreements with ODOT. And just a little bit of a refresher, both of these agreements involve STBG UZA funds. So this is a relatively new source of grant funds that we've been successful in leveraging to improve transit within Oklahoma City. And those funds are technically, they're administered by ODOT, so we need an agreement in place between COTPA and ODOT that just formalizes, again, what we're going to use those funds for. So item C is basically a $940,000 project for traffic signal priority. And as you know, we have several pieces of our traffic signal priority program that we are working on. One is traffic signal priority that is included in the BRT project, right? So we're executing that through our contract with Rudy. And then secondly, we are looking to add traffic signal priority to our regular fixed route bus system. And we're doing that in a couple of ways. As you'll recall, we have funding through the MAPS 4 program for traffic signal priority, and then we have this grant for $940,000. So our plan is with our fixed route bus system, once this grant agreement is executed, we'll have that funding to be able to equip all of our fixed route bus fleet with the necessary technology to be able to communicate with the traffic signals. And then part of the funding will go for what I would call or consider test corridors. And Nelson Nygaard, our consultant that helped us with our comprehensive operational analysis, they identified or prioritized, I should say, some corridors for us to test it in. So I think it puts us in a really good place on our fixed route system where we're able to leverage these grant funds, equip all of our buses with the technology we need, add some test corridors so that by the time we get to where we're able to invest MAPS 4 money in additional traffic signal priority, we've kind of got our hands around, if you will, how it's going to work on the fixed route system. So I think it's a really strategic approach to how we're going to implement traffic signal priority. And then, of course, the headline here to me is at the end of all of these traffic signal priority upgrades, we'll have approximately the equivalent of half of the signalized intersections within our fixed route bus network with traffic signal priority. So it's a transformative project in my mind for reliability. And as you recall, reliability, when we look at the importance satisfaction rating in our last customer service survey, that reliability of the buses was one of the things that we heard we could improve the best, that definitely had potential to improve there and was very important to our customers. So just appreciate you letting me talk at length on that one. There was a lot of pieces to it, but basically by executing this agreement, it'll put those funds in place so we can begin working on our plan. And then item D is basically an agreement with ODOT, same type of funds, STBG funds, only this is for the replacement of 2 CNG buses, $895,000.
All right.
Jason, how does the signal prioritization work as far as, is that just for our buses, or is it used by other city vehicles, or is it, and do we set it up and maintain it, or is it coming through the IT department at the city, or?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things on that. So right now we're focusing really just on our buses. Now, the software, or I said the technology, because it's hardware and software. The technology is developed to where there's potential for public safety to be able to use it. We haven't got far enough into the process to explore that, but it doesn't prohibit them from using it. And then, so right now it's focused on the buses, and then, I'm sorry, I forgot the other part of the question, Barney.
You all administrate?
Oh, administration, yeah. So as far as administration goes, right now, our traffic signal priority is managed, if you will, primarily by Public Works. We monitor it on the streetcar level. Our streetcar staff does a great job of monitoring it. They're able to alert Public Works when there's an issue, but it really is housed, if you will, in Public Works. Now, that's not to say when we have the extent of traffic signal priority that we're looking at, that it wouldn't make sense for us to consider bringing that in-house. And the executive team and I have had discussions about a future potential maintenance of way position, if you will, for our department that could potentially assume those responsibilities, give us a little bit more control over it.
All right, any other questions? Then I'd have a motion to approve item C. It's been moved and seconded. And the item is approved. And then I'd have a motion to approve item D unless there are any questions. It's been moved and seconded. It's been moved and seconded, and motion passes. Item E, I guess we need a motion to enter into executive session after the end of the meeting on item E.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have the option.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
well,
to.
that's right, Barney was going to make a motion.
Yeah, so as an alternative to entering into executive session, I'd like to move that we authorize and direct the municipal council to settle the claim up to the tort claim limit in this case, and just go ahead and move forward and not go into executive session.
I'd like to second that.
All right, we've had a motion to a second, and all in favor, yea, and motion passes. All right, next item is our ratification of claims and payroll. Any questions by any of the trustees on any of the items on there? If not, I'd have a motion to approve. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion passes. All right. Our
my
next item
mic
is to
working?
receive our financial.
Mr. Chairman, my computer screen, through no fault of my own, or really anybody's fault, but it's still stuck on the authorize and direct the municipal counselor.
Yeah, it hasn't gone past.
Oh, it's not just me?
No.
Oh, that's great. We're in this together. Yes,
Aye.
Motion passes, fine, okay. Next item is our financial reports, and I think Suzanne's gonna make her,
Or did we get claims at payroll?
well, we got,
I don't think she brought, I mean, did that one come up for the vote yet? It did already?
The ratification
it
for
did, I
claims and
thought the
payroll.
ratification of claims and payroll, yeah. All right,
Good morning.
morning.
Can you all hear me all right? This microphone's a little, you know. Well, happy July 1st, everyone. It's a beautiful day. Here to talk to you about our revenues and expenditures for 11 months of our financials, which takes us through May 31st. So if you could turn with me to page 2, I'll talk you through our transportation operations. I've got a few comments on that. So for the month ending in May 31st, we had a total revenue collection of $32.5 million and expenditures at $29.8 million for a net income of $2.7 million. And our expenditures were about 1.5% under budget. Revenues were about 5% over our year-to-date budget. And a few highlights on the revenues. I'll just point your attention to the American Rescue Plan. I mentioned this last month. We've called that out as an individual line item so that the trustees could see how much we've been collecting on our American Rescue Plan, our ARP grant. So total year-to-date is $5.2 million, and we're just continuing to leverage our ARP funds to cover us for preventative maintenance and other things like that. Also, I would point you down to the expenditures. There's the fuel line item, which is the second to last line item under expenditures. I wanted to point out to you, you'll see that we have $1.3 million year-to-date. Our budget for the year is $1.8 million, so we have quite a bit left in that line item to expend. We've got 1 month left, so we definitely feel like we will be certainly coming in under budget with our fuel, which has, of course, been a real uncertain expense for us with the fuel prices being what they are. So just wanted to point that out to you all. If we can turn over to page 4, this is our parking operations. So our revenues through May 31st are $5.4 million, and our expenditures are $3.7 million, roughly, for a net income of $1.75 million. And so that revenue, year-to-date, we're 14% over budget. Our expenditures are about 16% under budget. So kind of the continued story of just a really successful year with our revenues and our expenditures being managed. And I will draw your attention also to fund balance, because that really is kind of a highlight under the parking operations that I think is worth noting to you. We've started our year at $4.4 million, and we're looking right now at 11 months in to add $1.7 million to our fund balance. And of course, we expect that next month, our final month of the fiscal year, we'll see that number go up just a little bit. So wanted to highlight that for you. And then if we can turn over to page 6, that's our Spokies operation. So our revenues for Spokies through May 31st are $146,716. So certainly a little bit smaller revenue amounts that we're looking at here, but I would point out to you when you see the $11,053 under bike share, if you were to look at last month, you would see that number was $11,041, and you might be wondering, how did we only make $12 in a month? And that would be a really good question to ask, so I'm here to answer that for you. So just as a reminder, we have switched, we've got an agreement with a firm called Drop. And so in the month of April, we had our bikes offline, so we were not, of course, having trips generating revenue for us. So we had 24 trips in April, and so the $12 you see there are for those 24 trips. But I also wanted to mention, so the Drop, they keep 25% of the revenues, and COTPA gets 75% of the revenues. So that $12 represents that. The month of May, we had 492 trips and about $1,800 of revenue. So our agreement with Drop is a 30-day lag on payment. So what we saw in May will actually be collecting and will be on our June B&A report here. So I just wanted to point that out to you, since it's something that we've transitioned to with Spokies. So not to worry, our revenues will get better than $12 in the future. Let's wrap this up with our streetcar operations. So the next page, 7. So our revenues were $4.9 million. Our expenditures were $4.4 million for a net income of about $500,000. And so revenues are coming in right at our year-to-date budgeted amount, and our expenditures are about 5% under budget. So just a couple of highlights on the expenditures. I'll draw your attention to the third row under expenditures, Streetcar Operations. So I wanted to point out, and we may have said this before, but just so it's clear that Streetcar Operations line item also includes pass-through expenses, so maintenance and parts, in addition to, of course, our contract with Herzog for operations costs. So the reason that we are seeing a variance there is really just a lot more pass-through expenses than we were anticipating when we budgeted. Our streetcars are getting a little bit older, so we're seeing more of those expenses come through. And in future months, staff are going to work on separating that out so that y'all can see that more clearly, what our operational costs are with Herzog versus our pass-through expenses, so it's a little bit more transparent. And then just the line below it is our supply line. Last month, I mentioned that we were expecting a reimbursement from the MAPS office for some parts. We did receive that, and so that is in the supply line there of the $34,000. But we're expecting another $225,000 to show up on our June report, and even beyond that, we still have some reimbursement we're expecting from MAPS. So that is my final comment on our revenues and expenditures, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
What are the payments to the city transportation fund?
I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear you.
The payments to the city transportation fund?
What's included in that?
What is, yeah,
On the streetcar, that is going to be our city employee. So, yeah, that is payment for salaries for city employees.
okay. All right, any questions? All right, Suzanne, thank you.
As well, I'm sorry, I should also mention it's also our chargebacks too. So staff and chargebacks.
All right. Then do I have a motion to receive our financial reports? It's been moved and seconded, and all in favor, motion passes. All right, we've got 3 program reports for this meeting. One is the Mobility Management Service Program report. Morning.
Trying to get used to these super bright lights. This is a new experience when you come up here. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday morning. I'm going to try to be a little bit brief, but I do have some really good news to share with you, so this is going to be a little exciting for us. So first, let's talk about our senior services through the Older Americans Act grant with the Area-Wide Aging Agency. Total trips so far this year for 11 months is 41,209. When we were at this time last year, we were at about 24,000 trips, so we are fully seeing all of our ridership come back now at this stage of the game. This breaks out our daily meal sites. All locations are now open. We are still delivering food boxes, and that was such a successful program during the pandemic. We're just continuing that partnership with the Regional Food Bank as another one of the suite of services that we offer to seniors in the city. And as you can see, if you're looking at the printed program report in your packet, you'll notice a steep increase in those adult daycare services trips over the course of the last year or so. And I just wanted to point out to you that that's because our partner agency, the Daily Living Center, is expanding their fleet capacity, so we're able to provide more trips because we have more vehicles. So we're pretty excited about that. We have fully expended the CARES funding that we received through area-wide for our Older Americans Act and our seniors, but we did receive an additional $87,000 of American Rescue Plan funding that's specific for our senior services, and we will begin dipping into that in July, so we're pretty excited about that one. We talked a little bit during my last presentation about some of the issues we were having with our grocery shopping and our seniors that have vision impairments, that the staff at the grocery store wasn't sufficient to assist them as they buy their groceries. We are working steadily on a project in cooperation with the Oklahoma City Employees Association. We hope to have more details really soon so that we can have some city employees doing some volunteer work and helping these individuals with their grocery shopping on a weekly basis. So we're excited about how that will look. I want to talk to you a little bit more about Martin Barkwell this time than I usually do. One of the reasons we started in Barkwell is because the social determinants of health are so important. Health is so much more than simply going to the doctor. It's eating quality food. It's getting social activities. It's having mental enrichment. Simply sitting with friends and talking is so important. And so that's one of the reasons why we started in Barkwell. In June, we've really started to promote Barkwell some more. We did a partnership with the YMCA, our friends at the Lynn Institute, the Daily Living Center, and Embark, we are working on a project to address social determinants of health. And so we took one of our large fixed route buses and moved the seniors from the Lincoln Park Senior Center that are participating in YMCA programs now so that they could view the existing MAPS 3 wellness centers on Rockwell and the Pete White Center, learn about the programming. The whole point of this was to generate public support and excitement about the MAPS 3 Center in Northeast Oklahoma City, as well as Embark Well and their ability to access that center Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 at no cost through that program. We also, Jason and I, the following week, went to the Lincoln Park Senior Center for a town hall meeting with the local residents. That was very successful. They're very, very excited about their new wellness center, and they're even more excited that we've expanded our grocery shopping options. We are now offering 4 grocery shopping routes in the Northeast Oklahoma City to address the food desert there, so we're very excited about how that program is developing. If anybody wants to ask me why we're always busy in October and April, I have no idea why seniors want to exercise more in October and April. But we've seen that for a couple years now. So something happens in October and April, and I'm not sure what it is. But I would have expected it in January, you know, when everybody does their New Year's resolutions about getting healthy. But maybe it just takes them a while to get there.
May I offer an idea? I think I think I got it. I think I know this.
What's that?
They're smart. Smart. It's the best weather. Think about it. It's the best weather. This is punishing outside right now.
That does make sense. Now
I'm glad you raised this. I wouldn't. God. See, with age comes wisdom.
And as you all know, we have a community development block grant through the planning department. In the months of May and June, we always do our allocation process for the next fiscal year, and we are wrapping that up right now. In July, we will be sending out the allocation grant awards to 62 agencies across the city. The numbers you see here are for the first 11 months of the year. We still have not seen a lot of adoption of the Sheriff Fair program. If you will recall, just prior to the pandemic, we lost the provider that we'd used for years. The program was formally arranged around a taxi coupon program where we would sell them taxi coupons in $10 increments for 40% of the total cost. And we use the grant funds to make up the difference in this. And so we've changed now to more of a trip subsidy type thing where we just pay the first $4 of their trip. They're still having to pay the rest of the trip cost. And the seniors that we've talked about that no longer use Sheriff Fair, across the board, their answer is simply, this is not affordable as the old model of the program. So one of the things that we are doing starting in July for the next fiscal year is to take a deep dive into this program. We're going to look at some feasibility of different models. We're going to do some research into other transit agencies and their similar programs and see if we can't, within our current budget, make this program a little bit more attractive to our seniors. I mentioned the Unitedness referral program. I'm going to really briefly say once again, we are doing these referrals at Embark. It does not have to be a referral about transportation. The whole point of this network is to connect all of us together, so we are a one-stop shop. No matter who you call, you're going to get help, and you're not going to have to make 50 phone calls to find out who can help you. So they can call 297-1668, and we can get them a referral going right away. So you should have already received a copy of the Climb Ride report. We are very, very excited this program. So far this year, we've done 3,443 trips. It is a wraparound service model, and it has been so highly effective. We are working on an expansion proposal to present to DHS in the coming months to start pushing this program out beyond Oklahoma County. And as you can see, I don't even know how to say, highly successful doesn't really even cover it because we brought the percentage of families reunified from 37 to 63. We're doing it almost 8 months faster than the average. And so far, the families that we have reunified, our follow-ups on all of them is that there has been zero recidivism. Not a single case that we've closed and reunified has come back into the child welfare system in 3 years. So we're pretty excited about that. We also all did this under budget. It was $1 million grant. We are way under budget. In fact, I have enough money in the grant to go another 18 months beyond the 4-year grant, and Arnall has been very gracious in allowing us to simply move forward until we run out of money. So we're going to continue to do that. You are welcome to share this link that you see on the screen here. That is an electronic copy of our Climb Ride program. Palomar is going very good as well. This is another one of those highly successful, let's see what this is going to look like type of programs. We did it on a shoestring budget, and it has been very, very successful. A little over 1,600 trips so far this year. I do want to point out that those 1,600 trips are the trips in the Palomar van. When the Palomar van is full, we still do funnel some Palomar trips off to our on-demand providers, so, you know, the Uber, Lyft type TNC group. But we're still very, very pleased with it. One of the things that having the Palomar van running at the same time that the Climb Ride was working in child welfare was our ability to test what they call commingling. Okay, so in the past, mobility and social service transportation was very specific. There are very specific funding streams, and if you buy the vehicle with that funding stream that's, say, dedicated to transporting seniors, you have to be able to cost allocate anyone else from a different program that is riding on that same vehicle. We've never had the ability to do that before because our software was not capable of it. Well, we found out in June that we won the competitive Integrated Coordinated Access and Mobility Grant from the Federal Transit Administration. They have fully funded our application for $325,000, and with our matching funds, we will finally be able to buy a mobility management software system. Once we get that in place, the sky is the limit on what we can do here, because now suddenly we have the ability to build trips out at the seat level with a cost allocation model built into the software behind it, and we can simply bill out each trip to the grant funding source that's paying for that particular trip, as well as the maintenance and fuel on the vehicle by trip. So we're very, very excited about it. It's going to be a game changer for us. This is another new program that's coming into the Mobility Management Division. This is our Van Pool Services program, Embark Commute. We have procured a services provider that will be Enterprise. We have the contract signed, and we are in service planning right now. Branding is completed, and we are planning to relaunch the program on August 1st with some early meetings with some of the locals, as well as talking to the city and other large employers in the area. And with that, I will leave you with our mobility management email. This goes to all of the people on the team, so if you ever need anything, this is the easiest way to get an answer very, very quickly. And I'll take any questions.
Do we have any social media promoting some of the really great work that's being done, especially with the slide program?
Yes, sir. Yes,
The
sir.
Climb
All of
program?
our grants have an outreach requirement component, and Michael and his team are absolutely outstanding at not only doing that on a repetitive basis, but providing me actual reports of views and what the posts look like so I can submit them as with our grant reports.
Wonderful. We'll try to do better to sharing that out.
Well, I think Robert's right. I doubt that the public has any idea of all the services, and I worry something about some of the trustees knowing every service that we provide.
Yeah, one of the big things that we've been talking about over the last couple of years, and we had planned on going into the city level to city departments to make sure our city employees know all about the mobility services. Obviously, with COVID, that whole thing kind of came to a grinding halt because people were focused on other things, and we didn't want to take up their time, but we do intend to circle back to that.
Well, you've got the boss here, so you could start right here.
Yes,
so.
yes. Well, he always is very supportive, so
Okay.
I'm sure that whatever we decide to do, he will be 110% behind it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last program report is our parking service.
So that Jesse can have more time to talk about transit, I'll be brief. Just to clarify about the PCI contract, in the memo, we referenced it would cost $220,000 per calendar year, per year. And we referenced July to end of June, our fiscal year. That contract will really start on August 4th in the next 34 days and then run through the fiscal year. But that's our annual cost.
Okay, for the clarity here, so you mentioned that the contract starts August 4th.
Correct.
Josh, the resolution implies it starts July 1st in my mind. So do Do you know if we need to have any corrective action on the resolution? Here's the resolution right here.
What does the agreement itself say for the effective term?
I believe the chairman has it down. Oh, here it is, right here. Yeah, that's what we need to look at.
Oh, no, that's a different
Yeah,
one.
we just have the resolution.
Ah, okay.
The actual agreement is down with the chairman. But, I just, before we went any further, I just wanted to make sure that the resolution we had passed earlier was consistent with what we would be bringing back to the trust for ratification. Or I guess we could deal with it at that time when we bring back the documents for ratification. We can clarify the term of the contract.
We could,
It's just a resolution, right? And it's
Yeah.
authorizing signing the documents.
Yeah.
I would think as long as everyone understands, the resolution doesn't create any kind of legal
Right.
requirement on it, I don't believe. So I would think we'd be fine with it as it is. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah.
Right.
But I would think we would be okay, wouldn't you,
yeah,
Josh?
next time when we come back, we'll just make sure all the dates are clear and we'll have the complete contract, all its parts for ratification.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Pardon the interruption, I just wanted to make sure we
Was the
were okay to
agreement-
proceed.
The agreement's not in here, it's just the signature pages. So,
Yeah.
I have a copy of the agreement if we want to see it.
I think we're good. I just,
Okay.
again, thank you for letting me interrupt. I just want to make sure we were good to go.
A copy of our transition plan. I'm sure there'll be tweaks and whatnot as we go through things, but you'll see that we got insurances all taken care of, human resources, interviewing and bringing on staff down to the smallest of details, customer service training, accounting, equipment maintenance, and security checks, along with purchases of new uniforms, possibly cell phones, transferring the current cell phones into a new company name, and then building the Verge software that we spoke about earlier. It is quite detailed. So if you have questions, happy to go through it. Keep in mind that estimated, we'll be bringing on 95% of the current staff. The management staff has already been selected and decided, assuming we don't find anything that came up in a background check or something that we weren't aware of when we originally did them. But the whole idea is to bring the majority of the local staff that we've been interacting with for quite some time and dress them up in new uniforms due to their performances. Couple other small items to make you aware of as it relates to our operations. Out at the Scissortail Surface Park, MAPS was kind enough to install 2 electric charging stations for vehicles. Those are up and running. Those are free for the end user to use as we're charging them for parking in those spaces. Nice little service. MAPS is also helping us with some of the low spots in the parking lot in which some folks have decided, rather than paying the parking fee, to drive over the landscaping. It's not done. It's the low parts where we know we have problems, where they're installing some barriers to prevent those vehicles from doing that. The convention center garage, I consider it to be great success. Our entering and exiting traffic for major events is very smooth, very quick. I would say it's definitely in the A+ ranking for as a parking industry in time to get out of the garage and whatnot. Through a part of the design, and then again with personnel, we only have one real down ramp to get people out of the garage, but we have 3 exit entry plazas. That was because of the footprint that we had to work with. So during peak nights, we accomplished the superior exiting traffic with having 2 personnel that talk via walkie-talkie, nothing glamorous, but they stop any entering traffic, because usually it's mass entry or mass exit in that garage. So they'll pause the entering traffic that's coming up, and we'll send the traffic down that entry ramp, allowing them access to all 3 plazas to expedite exiting. In that garage, again, we had some feedback relating to the directional signs while inside the garage, while you're in your vehicle. We've made those adjustments. Those adjustments were made a few months ago. I omitted to advise this committee. And then we've also added elevator signs to indicate what floor to take the bridge over to the convention center. We are in the process of adding some ADA signs on the ground floor, as we've heard back from a single customer that was using a wheelchair that they had difficulty finding their way as a pedestrian outside the garage to the hotel and convention center. So we use some concrete clings inside the garage to show them how to get out of it to their destination. A CIP project that's soon to start over at the Century Center garage. We redid all the floors a number of years ago. Many of you may remember that. It was pre-Corey time, so I don't. I heard stories about that operational mountain that y'all took care of. Thank you. The expansion joints are starting to fail. With Griffin moving in, we're getting ahead of it, and we have contacted Public Maintenance's on-call bridge contractor, and they have provided us with a quote. So we'll be moving fast on that expansion joint replacement. Any questions for me?
That expansion joint replacement, if you'll recall in our CIP, we budget $500,000 a year just for these type of things, that are going to come up. And so we obviously have a funding source, and that's why we put that budget in place, but we'll be in good shape to get it covered.
Gore, just out of the spaces sold in the convention center, 289, does that involve the hotel, the spaces reserved by the hotel?
So yes, it includes the hotel spaces, some random employees, and that agreement that we signed earlier this calendar year, where the Omni employees could get a discounted parking rate convention for 1 year. The convention center employees are included in that. What we have found regarding the Omni discounted employee rate is that's a little tedious for them, from what I'm understanding, because when there's an event in the garage, we need it for event parking. So anecdotal information, more are just buying the full monthly pass than taking that deal for the employee parking, because they also work events and whatnot.
Has there been any discussion with the proposed apartment complex and what parking they'll need? Or
Thank you for asking. There should be more information towards fall on that. The project is moving forward. I've been verbally reassured of that, but they will have more information for me late summer, early fall.
Mm-hmm.
Which facility is pictured here?
I'm sorry?
Which facility is pictured here?
That is the roof of the Arts District garage.
Okay, beautiful.
have we completed all our requirements with Channel 9?
We have, thank you for asking. We have installed the parking gate for -2. Well, you enter into the garage and you start going down the helix, And so just past -1 and then -2 is where they'll live. There's a parking barrier that has been installed, so everyone knows that if they're not Channel 9, they need to get off on that floor. We met with the Griffin folks on the exact placement. They blessed it. We have not programmed that access card. Low on the list of priorities is they want to move in September, so we'll have that ready along with their validation account. And then the expansion joints, we're getting on that really quick. Again, I got a quote today. We found they're still in their construction process, putting up drywall. And we found some water that by sheer happenstance started to leak in to their area while they were on construction. Thank goodness. It's about time for that expansion joint to be replaced based off of its longevity in our sunny environment. I would say they typically last about 10 years. So we're right about that ballpark.
Okay. Any other questions for Corey? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to receive our program reports? Been moved and seconded, and all in favor? Passes. Were you wanting to give a report? Well, it wasn't marked on here.
We do have a quick BRT report,
Okay,
if that's
well, good.
okay.
Okay,
And
well.
come on up, Jesse.
All right, good morning. Good morning, Chairman, trustees. Hope everyone's excited for 4th of July weekend. You're going to be downtown. I'll be downtown at the Oklahoma City Dodgers baseball game on Monday night. Be sure to ride the streetcar. If you haven't ridden the new Spokies electric assist bike, very exciting, exhilarating ride. But let's talk about BRT. So our very first slide here is to update you on where we are on the schedule that we continue to show monthly. So this past Wednesday, we had our groundbreaking ceremony. So number 5 there, construction start date in June of 2022. So we're maintaining our schedule, and we anticipate maintaining that schedule all the way through to revenue service beginning. Our next slide here is our groundbreaking that we had this past Wednesday, June 28th. Vice Chairman Sipner, Trustee Cooper, appreciate the kind words. We also had our FTA Region 6 Administrator, Gail Lissy, there, which was exciting. She was in Oklahoma City for this event, and we were able to give her and her team a tour of the BRT route. We also were able to give them a visual of where the new First American Museum ferry boat landing is going to go. And we also went out and took a look at the boats at the storage where we're stored over there at Exchange Landing. But great turnout at our event here, our groundbreaking. Appreciate Michael and his team getting all this set up, working in coordination with Public Works and their public outreach team, and then just everyone joining us for that event. So with the groundbreaking, what's next, right? It's construction. So Rudy Construction is our contractor for the BRT project, and they're really getting after it. So within hours of the groundbreaking, they began construction. And so just like we did with the streetcar project, we're sending out updates to everyone that's in our email work group, and that is really kind of to let you know where construction is happening and where that's coming from, so that you can plan around that. But we're also working with Public Works to make sure that those updates are going out through Public Works and social media. So it's all about information, making sure that we're limiting impact along the alignments and any business owners that could be impacted. We want to make sure that someone's not showing up to work and we're out in front of their business doing work without them knowing. So we're making sure that we're getting that information out as soon as we possibly can. So this slide here shows exactly what went out in that newsletter. So we started here at Northwest 42nd and Classen, where we're doing some concrete pad work. So essentially making that concrete thicker for the bus weight, right? So we don't want it to be where when the bus pulls up to the platform, we start getting that rolling up of the asphalt. So we're going in and installing concrete pads at all of the BRT platforms. So this work is anticipated going from the 28th through July 14th. The next slide here is at 36 and Classen. Again, concrete pad work. So it's really a multi-pronged approach. So we're actually hitting the alignment in 4 different areas and trying to get as much work done as we possibly can, anticipating that as we go into the winter months, there's a possibility for delays. So really taking advantage of the summer months. And the next slide here is at 56 in Portland, where we're doing, again, concrete pad work. And you'll see where we're doing this work, we're doing everything that we possibly can to maintain as much lane openings as we can and detouring traffic and making it as safe as possible. Then the final slide here is at Northwest Expressway in Villa, where we're immediately going into installing those sidewalks, going from where the Penn station would be at the northeast corner of Northwest Expressway and Penn, all the way to Villa, connecting our station to Northwest Expressway and Villa and the newly remodeled Belle Isle Library, again, making those connections that we've been discussing. So any questions about the construction there? All right, so our next slide here is the world premiere of our very first commercial for the BRT project. So Michael and his team have partnered with Flight, and when we had the BRT bus at the convention center for our BRT bus reveal, they came in prior to us doing the reveal and were able to shoot this commercial that we're going to be rolling out. Michael and his team are wrapping up the media plan, and we anticipate seeing these commercials rolling out here in the next month. So, world premiere.
Wait a minute. There's a safe, high-frequency, premium transit service to Northwest OKC, hub of 20% of the region's jobs, reaching over 40,000 residents in the area?
Pretty nice work, right? Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So that wraps up the BRT information, but at our last board meeting, I was asked to bring some information back on our Women's College World Series rides that we did. So I'll pause here. So if there's any BRT questions, I can answer those before I roll into the next couple of slides. All right. Okay. So early June, we had the Women's College World Series going on in Oklahoma City. As always, we try to partner with everyone that we can to promote public transit. So we were able to partner with USA Softball, with Rich and Jake, and then, of course, Sue Hollenbeck and the City Manager's Special Projects Division. We were able to partner with them and develop this essentially a shuttle, right? So we were able to take our 2 buses, and we were able to run on 30-minute frequency. It's not a charter because it was open to the public. So for a $4 fare, you could park at the Convention Center parking garage, board one of our buses that were coming along every 30 minutes, and go from that stop, go directly to the College World Series. Like I said, we were doing that on a 30-minute frequency using 2 buses. And then also we were applying the $10 daily parking. So essentially you could park at one of our garages, use Embark to get from the Convention Center parking garage to the College World Series, and then we were also bringing you back. So we were operating that service during the entire time that they were having the College World Series, go Sooners. And the very next slide here will show our ridership. So we had 632 customers use the service during the College World Series. You can kind of see how that worked out there. So Sunday, June 5th was our highest ridership for the College World Series. June 7th, we're showing 0 because that was an off day for the World Series. And then finally, on the final championship day there, June 9th, 85. So great turnout, and we anticipate doing this in the future. Michael and his team, they were able to really expedite getting some public information out there. We kind of went into this about 2 to 3 weeks prior to the College World Series kicking off, and so Michael and his team really put together a lot of tremendous stuff in short turnaround. We had a debrief meeting right after this with everyone on the team of how we can improve, and one of the major things that we looked at improving was being able to get that information out sooner so we can maximize the use of this service. And so we're anticipating essentially having a kickoff for the next year's World Series in January of next year, so we can really get information put together and get it out to the public as soon as possible so we can maximize this service. So.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add just a couple of comments to Jesse's presentation. Thanks, Jesse. It's really good. Commercial looks good. But just as a reminder, and I know we've kind of went through our board initiatives workshop, and we've shared some of our initiatives with the trust, but our initiative to enhance the status and use of transit within our community. This is one of those things that we're certainly grateful for the Softball Hall of Fame and the city manager's office, Sue Hollenbeck, the special projects manager there, her involvement. Opportunities like this, we believe as staff, and we appreciate the support of the trust. It's just a way to introduce people to transit that maybe have never used it before, right? And I mean, our service, our buses, it's different than it was, 10 years ago. And so we believe, and again, we just appreciate the support of the trust, that it's consistent with that initiative of ours to enhance the status and use of our services. And then just from kind of a little technical piece of information here, this was, as Jesse mentioned, a temporary route open to the public. The costs all fit within our existing operating budgets. We didn't have to, have any more funding for it. So we were able to implement that as staff, whereas if this was an official route change, if you will, right, we always go through the public process. We always get the trust's authorization ahead of time. You guys have been through that before, but I just wanted to, since it was kind of a new service that we added, I just want to kind of explain the nuance, if you will, of why we didn't go through a public process and get an official approval for a route change. It's just a little bit different. So thank you for letting me add to that.
No. All
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Jesse. All right, any items from any of the trustees?
I just wanted to say congratulations to Jason, who's going to be our new, one of our new assistant city managers, which I know y'all know that. But, I just, I think it's wonderful news. As I said in an Instagram story when I found out, I feel like LaShawn and Jason just bring a level of empathy and inquiry that has been, at least for me, very instructive. Like, I feel smarter talking with them. I feel like I'm on a really smart podcast with smart people, and that's really fun. So good job, Craig, on that decision. And congratulations, Jason.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Jason? No.
No, sir. I think I've interrupted and added information already too much today.
Then we're adjourned. Thank you.